right, 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Quorum, we do have a quorum, 3 of the 5 present. Mr. Barella, would you lead us in the salute of the flags?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, with the symbol of perfect friendship among the United
All right, approval of tonight's agenda. What's the pleasure?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
We move and second to approve tonight's agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Approval of the board meeting minutes from May 20th.
So move.
I second.
Been moved and seconded to approve May 20th regular board meeting minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no public comment? Nobody's on. Okay. Presentations, Miss Lynn Howard, you're up.
So I wanted to propose an idea for the kids. It would probably be open more of the, I wouldn't say mid-school, but maybe the 8th grade up. I don't know if the 7th grade would be there, but I'd like to propose a trip that would be probably every 2-3 years that they could go on to go for STEM, for history. We could travel. And so there's been some interest. The kids have seen what other schools do and have done in the past here. And so I told them, yeah, we can do this too. And so things like competitions, they do travel, but they don't go to some of the places that would be, like Washington, D.C. or, we were talking about staying in country because we have looked at what they do out of country and talking to Mr. Patterson. It's probably right now not the best time to try to do all that. And it makes it really more expensive. And I'm looking at Ms. Rella, I'm wondering, I know Kathy had sent me a link to a company that does it, that you can pay, and I can't think of their name, and I was exploring on it. And so you can go like to Europe and Australia and, all over the place. But they also we could use a company like that goes from Alaska to, around the United States. They have a ton, 100 of them in the United States. And we can fashion it toward if we wanted science or history or something. I know we have done, I guess, through traveling a lot of these from Moarity. I've done some. We did a trip. We went to California for a whole week, and the kids ended up not having to pay anything but their one meal at Disneyland because we didn't want to pull them together. I mean, it was a fabulous trip. We went on a Herrera bus. So there's things like that besides just, we can think of everything. It could be on a school bus, but only limited by that far. I looked up ideas too, like on the train. I've been on a train kick. Because it's nice. It's a good way for the kids to see things. It slows you down. It takes time. But they do have something where you would do, it's called the rail. I want to say the rail runner, and that's not the right name. But you pay, say, $500, and in a month you get on and off whatever you want. You just go get off on. And I looked like you could go from here. We go El Paso, Albuquerque. You could go to Washington, D.C., you can go to Chicago, you can go to Orlando, you can go pretty much anywhere within the 48 states. We could do a trip on and off. So that's an option. And they could do, you can get where you have, it doesn't let you have the rooms. It's more of just the seat, but they have enough seating that's one way. So there's a lot of things we could do, but I like to ask for your permission just to invite parents and kids that are interested and start really get them together. And I really think if we're going to do it, then kids sign up. What my experience has been is, say they, like the senior trip we went in Moarity, that was a big one. They pay in. It gets really hard to say sorry. And I know things can happen and that may be something, but otherwise we set an amount. This is, as close as we can get. We overdo it. We set our fundraisers up. And if they want to pay in, they can pay in. I'm not against that. But if they want to fundraise, we can plan a fundraising. So by over 2 years, if we set $100 right there, they've got $2,400. And that's a lot. When you look at the trip, say that was the national one, that company, go to Australia, was like $6,400. We could easily do something bringing it together on some of these, like that Herrera, we got it down pretty cheap on some things. So I would like to ask for that opportunity to try to see where we can go with this.
I work in children's schools, and yes, they were going somewhere this summer. It was far. It was in Europe or something. I can't remember. I want to say Italy. I'm not sure. But a lot of schools do it. My best friend, her daughter just came back from New York. She was there for a week. And she was only, she just could be a freshman.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see it a lot, and there is programs. I can't remember the name, but there are posters. There's posters you can hang and help them go. But there is like posters of groups that do it.
Yeah. And like I like the idea of going to say like Washington D.C. because the Smithsonian's we were talking about, they're free, and so we could find a lot of things like the national parks, even in New Mexico. You can go to a lot of them, and certainly they're free. And so if you just time things right, we can cut a lot of the budget and do some things. And I know like Bill is from Florida, and we talk about, you think about going to Orlando, but there's a lot of other parks. They have like Universal. We went to Universal Studio, Disneyland, and Knott's Berry Farms. And we had way more fun on the other ones. I love Disney in one sense, but it's expensive. And so they have I'm trying to think, it's the game. There's like a reserve one down in, like you go drive in the bus and the animals are around you. The national park one down there. So anyway, maybe just to drive down the road and see a gator would be something different for me. But anyway, I'd like to see if we could do that.
So when are you looking at doing it?
In my brain would be 2 years from now.
But start the planning
starting
process,
now.
start the
Yeah, start,
gathering information, raising the money.
see who's interested, how
You
many
have to figure
kids.
out who you're going to take.
Right. And it would that limits you to certain kids may not want, that's the question, to be part of still being a student. They can't, my previous,
We'll send
have graduated.
When Junior was in high school, she took him to Ireland.
Yeah, there's schools that go all over different places, and as our Miss Barella and Miss Roper shared some pictures a while ago of the kids that are on our trio trip. It gives our kids an opportunity, and I told her from one standpoint it scares me to death, but from another standpoint it'd be a great opportunity for our kids. So, just kind of when she brought it up, I said it'd be good to present it to the board so we can start exploring it and see if it's something we can put together and raise enough money, and if we have enough interest from our kids to do it, because you do need kind of a minimum number to do some of these trips also. So.
and I guess I'm assuming we had where parents could as well, because that helped the cost. I don't know if that's okay or,
You need a chaperone. Right?
Yeah.
So,
so
I don't see any problem with it.
Okay.
I mean,
we can price out
a
different
couple
ways
years
and
down the road
locations
and
and
figure out.
Or
I guess
just
the students
maybe
will pick
figure out who,
who's
who's
going to
interested.
go and where they're going to go, and you're just willing to coordinate all that.
That 2 years now.
Right.
It's the fundraiser. And I know like right now we have I'm looking at, I said we have the junior prom this next year and then the graduation for those kids. And so, try to not hit the community too much, but it's still,
Right.
if we give it enough time. I mean, you could pull it out 3 years, but then
Right.
I don't know if we could do it in 2 years, then it's realistic. It's hard to do
You drag it
something
out too
possible.
far out,
People
lose
lose
momentum and
interest.
excitement about
when
it.
and
We keep
meeting
the excitement up.
application.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if we raise money and I don't know, go sooner, but realistically, I think it's a
when they
2 year
can,
plan.
they can do a small one this year
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
forward to a bigger
That's
one in the
true.
future, so.
You're looking at doing it over spring break, or you're.
Well, that's the thing. If it's during spring break, then kids that haven't graduated, if I understand, can still go. But if they've graduated, then they're not part of the school. But then if we're letting parents go, so I don't know how that works. That's you guys's. So,
They usually go after school, out to Somerville.
Okay.
Question, guidelines, concerns?
No, I think you're in the infancy, so once you
Okay.
flesh out some of the details.
Okay. Well, I was just going to announce and maybe August by the time I get all the people interested, but if we could just send out with the kids and see who shows up and
Well, then bring it up at our pack,
That's what
Yeah.
I.
our August pack meeting,
Okay.
and send information out after that. So.
Right.
because I would ask that if a kid's interested, somebody in the family has to be interested too to help raise that kind of money.
Right.
Not that they have to go, but just be aligned with it because it's okay.
It'd be nice though if when you do present it like to the pack or whomever, that you have at least 3 places picked out because, so that they could think, wow.
Visualize.
Yeah.
like Alaska would be cool, but because it'd be summertime. You go. It's just like you can't drive there. I've not been, but to drive would be crazy. And you can go on the train for so far, and then you're driving,
Yeah,
and then
most of the time, yeah, like, you know, they fly a lot.
I don't know, do a cruise, but that'd be a whole different thing. So
Sounds good.
okay, thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mr. Howard,
All right.
recognitions.
Okay, well, we had two ag sales team go to state, and one actually made it on stage, fifth. They placed fifth, which was really good. One of the professors who was a judge was really raving on them, begging them to come back next year because he knew they were seventh graders. So, and that was Alex Silva and Braley Kinnick and Caden Wheeler and who am I forgetting? Haley Haas. That's
But it was Trevino Young.
no, well,
Sorry,
Trevino Young.
Speaking.
I just call her Braley. So,
Yeah, because
anyway.
Kinnick did help us through. She practiced until this.
yeah, and Brady helped out a lot. But they had a real good showing there, and proud of them. They did really well.
What was the product?
Ag sale. It was a soybean fire. They use soybean soy foam, and it's for fire extinguishers, and they're trying to get it out there.
Oh, they would have. Sorry, I'm not your presentation.
Go ahead.
They would have won it from their presentation. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
And that was my fault. They didn't know the test, and that knocked them. But I told them there's like 4 books we didn't have time to go through, so we'll start the books. But as soon as they walked out, what was nice is they said we're going to do this again. They didn't know how they did, but they were hooked, so it was nice. Both teams did really good. They did,
Good.
yeah. So.
Yeah. And then Patrick Avila got a state degree, and Cody got his honorary, and Ellie got her honorary state degree. So that was really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, good showing.
Right.
So, and then we brought the most kids to the state convention, which was really good. A lot of people were like, "Damn," they get mad because I bring them, and they're like, "I got to bring kids next year." So that's kind of fun, you know, rubbing their face a little bit. But so, and so state convention was really good.
How did the young kids take it?
Pardon?
How did the young kids take it?
Let's see, like going.
Yeah, I mean.
They were kind. They were like,
Were they impressed with all the blue?
Yeah, they were
gold
kinda
and
like-
that kind of stuff.
well, and they're learning to go on trips with me. You're busy all the time, so yeah. So they were kind of. They wanted to stay at the hotel a couple times, but that wasn't going to happen. So, you know, and
Go swimming.
yeah.
It was neat to see because I went up the day of the ag degrees and everybody's walking in with 5 or 6 FFA students. And then Carrizozo comes in 10, and 12, all
Wow.
coming together. And then my wife, who hasn't been to anything FFA yet, she was blown away with all of the jackets, the decorum,
It's impressive.
it was a very fun experience to be at. It was a neat experience. And our kids represented as well.
I think so. I think they did really well. They're all, you know, kind of the ties and stuff. I kind of get on them about it, but so as far as, but they did really well and they enjoyed it. And they'll probably be going next year too. They'll want to go, and they didn't like the heat. Yeah,
No, but they wanted to compete. In some
Oh, yeah,
like,
now they
ag
wanna
issues and
compete.
those kind of things.
yeah.
Oh, good.
I guess she's
Yeah,
more
I think
stuff.
we got some future kids that are going to
Yeah.
go after some state offices and some.
I got 2 that I'm thinking that will, you know, just got to get them over their nerve shock a little bit. But other than that, I think they're ready to do it. So,
Good.
and so that was really good. Now we have 7 kids showing. We have Janae, Brianna, Patrick, Sam Roper, Sam Avila, Justin Morella, Logan Nahar, Shane Nahar, and I'm trying to think of who. Brady. Brady. That's where I opened my mouth, and I had a kid ask me, "I want to show Mr. Aaron." I said, "Okay, why don't you show a turkey? You know, start off." And then I had 8 people jump on board, so like I don't want turkeys, but anyway, so, yeah, it'll be good. We're gonna have turkeys there for sure. So,
That's
Yeah.
funny.
but and we have 5 pigs and 8 goats and 1 lamb. So, well, I don't know how many lambs Justin's going to show, so I'm not sure about that one. But yeah, so we'll have a lot of kids showing this year, so it'll get better, you know. Other than that, things are going pretty smooth till when they get the water on the greenhouse again. So, yeah. So,
Did we get power to it yet?
Huh?
Did we
yeah,
get
we're getting
to it?
power. Well, he's coming in. I just got to wait for CED to send the quote or they need to send their W-9, then we can get a PO back to them. So, I'm just waiting on those guys, really. And then he'll come in as soon as he gets that stuff. So, it shouldn't be too long.
We just toured the meat lab and culinaries.
Yeah, yeah.
Before the meeting. That's gonna be impressive.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a lot. So it'll be good. I'm excited.
Are you
That's what we were
up
talking
for
about
it?
fundraising.
I hope so. Yeah. So I think it'd be good. So but I'll keep it going until about November and kind of cut them back a
Put
little
them in
bit.
one room and take them across the hall and cook them cold.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Farm to table.
Yep.
Hopefully she's up. Amber's up for it. I don't know. We'll
Right.
see. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. And, but other than that, everything I think is pretty good so far.
So part of the fundraising for the trip could be
Well, we were thinking,
plants or flowers from Mother's
Well,
Day and that type of stuff.
I want to interject on what she was saying. There's a lot of, you can see a lot of cotton between Texas and then go to Alabama and Florida and you can see strawberry farms, or you can go to California and they got we went on a tour when I was in college and it was on the side of the dock and it was thousands of flowers and plants and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that, places like that you can go. Especially in southern Arizona, you can see a lot of farms out there. So I wanted to interject, but it's her story. So
sorry.
What's the product next year for ag sale?
they don't put it out until like 3 weeks before the contest.
Oh,
It's really gonna be it's a real product. We called and talked to the company out of Georgia, but the soybean board from the checkoff fund, so they learned all about soybean, they learned about the checkoff funds, how funding.
well, I was thinking you could tie in a tour of a soybean farm.
Oh, that would be cool.
Whatever the product will be next year, but tie it
No,
in.
no.
But if you don't know,
Yeah, that's the only thing, because then everybody prepare all year long, and
Right.
Be nice.
So I think they try and put a little pressure on them. That's what they did. So which is neat. They did good. So
yeah.
they had a lot to learn in a short period of time. So and the seventh graders, John Townsend kept coming up to me and you got to get them together next year. You got to so that's good.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's really bragging on them. So
It was
Awesome.
nice because usually like ag sales, we have a couple teams and they had 9 eventually did show. They had 15 and then 6 didn't show. Like this and that didn't make, and they had 9 teams. So they really did do good. So both teams did really good. The viewpoint of how they sold the product from the 7th graders was what sold that they did so good.
Right.
So
Good. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
they're a good bunch. And Ellie went and took care of Mr. Hard the whole
Yeah.
week.
She helped me keep my temper.
All right, moving on to reports. Principal's report. Oops.
It's actually on.
Yeah, we saw it.
If you scroll down, I meant to tell you, if you scroll down, it's on the
Pictures.
computer.
I was wondering what they were.
So total or enrollment is 146. That's pre-K through 12. There are 7 pre-K 3 years, 2 pre-K 4, 66 kindergarten through 5th, 24 at the middle school, and 47 at the high school for a total of 137 K through 12. Science adoption. So the elementary went with Twig, and you guys have the what it's going to cost to do the materials, and then some teacher in service for that. And that's just going to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for science. And then the high school went with H&H, biology, chemistry, and physics. They quoted us, and so you guys have that quote. Mr. Howard already talked about state convention, so we took 24 students down. The majority were middle school kids. They had fun. But they kept asking, well, what are we doing today? I said, we're going to the convention all day long. Yes, all day long. I said, well, go have lunch, then we'll come back to sessions. Really? I said, yeah, we do. We stay busy. So, but it was fun. The 7th graders, did their presentation for Mr. Howard and I the night before, and so they were very impressive when they were talking. So they have a good little team if they keep on doing it. So
Good.
weights and conditioning in open gym has started. The boys and the girls are taking 2 different days. Girls do Monday and Wednesdays. Boys do Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry. Miss LeMay took 9 girls on June 13th to a basketball camp at Mescalero. Then on the 7th, she took 7 girls to the same camp. June 12th through the 13th, we had 3 teachers participate in the 2025 literacy convening. And those pictures are what they displayed. So you had to, I guess, fill out an application with the state to see if you were elected to create centerpieces for this convening. So Miss Segura went ahead and filled it out, and Carrizozo was picked. So they had to do 8 centerpieces, and they had to have a 21-inch diameter circular base. And the centerpieces had to be creative and representative of the region that we live in. So it was the Trinity site, the art buildings, some of the abandoned buildings. So then they took them and presented them. Actually, they put them on the tables at the conference, and then they voted on them. And Carrizozo ended up winning the $500 art award.
We will
for
have
it.
them here in July.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and then Mr. Patterson also said that NMPD was going to take them and display them at their office for a little bit. And then he thinks it's the picture of the Trinity site, not the model, but it will be shown to the Archbishop for the 80th anniversary of the Trinity site. And those were 8, we had 8 students who worked on those, 8 high school students that were taking his art class. June, so 16th through the 19th, right now we have 6 students who participated in the ENMUR trio trip. They are in Denver. We had 1 student from the middle school participate in the middle school trip that took them to the Grand Canyon. And that was 2 weeks ago. We would have had more kids, I think, from middle school attend that, but they did theirs. They had to do their application online, so a lot of parents didn't get that part of it, so they were on a waiting list. But they took 30 kids to that trip, and I think they took 21 kids to this Denver trip. So not just Carrizozo kids, but kids from Roswell schools.
What are they seeing in Denver?
Yesterday, they toured CSU at Pueblo. They did the Pueblo River Walk, and they went to a music museum. And then they had dinner at the Shamrock Brewing Company. Today, they toured the University of Colorado in Denver, and then did another museum. And then tomorrow, they'll come back and do Colorado Springs, the mines, right? The Mines University. And then they'll be back on Thursday. So we'll go pick them up Thursday at 4:30.
I was going to pick them up on Friday.
Yeah. My mom didn't come for me.
Sorry. You'd have to hitchhike home.
And that trip is open to anybody. So not just our kids that do the tutoring through TRIO, but anybody from our school could have gone if they applied. Miss LeMay is hosting a scrimmage right now as we speak against Capitan for the girls varsity team. July 7th and 8th, Mandy Baca will be back to do the basketball camp for our kiddos. July 14th through the 17th, there's a volleyball camp that Miss LeMay scheduled, and then she's working on a varsity volleyball scrimmage in July, but hasn't gotten all the details to that one yet. And that's everything.
So if there are only 2 4-year-olds at Mr. Lane's, our kindergarten class next year is going to be really small.
Maybe. Yeah, that doesn't mean, I think last year we had only 4 or 3 pre-K 4. They don't know, right?
Okay. So there's more out there?
There's more
Probably.
there. There's more that we don't
There's more on the
service.
street
So,
somewhere.
Yeah,
All right.
somewhere.
I actually think it's a pretty good size.
This year is,
Yeah, 13 is what went through
It's
child
13.
fine.
Coming in this year.
So,
But are these four part of this year or not? It's next year, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
following.
All right, any other questions from Ms. Burrow? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Patterson.
is there anything on the construction update y'all want me to cover again or talk about? We're pretty much on track.
Oh, come on, really?
We have a guy coming to stall.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
The key things are we're still at this time on track to hit the target dates that we were talking about hitting and all those things. We currently have a middle school math position. We won't call it math. They will either have to teach science or social studies, but the good news is the other half of that team teaches language arts and they can either teach science or social studies. So we kind of have some leeway there. We've had a couple interviews. We're trying to set up a couple more as we speak right now. And haven't quite laid a finger on the one we want yet. So but we do have that open. Other part that we have on it, they're usually at our board meeting. Annette's still going to be out for a little while with her medical issue. And so for the summer, we hired Lee Wheeler, who's already a IA for us. But we hired her, paying her hourly to come in and help the guys out, do some cleaning. And she's started yesterday and she's done more in 2 days than I expected to see her do in 2 weeks. So I haven't been over to the gym, but supposedly the gym walls that everybody said needed to be repainted are snow white right now. So I haven't been over there to see it. That's what she told me at the end of the day.
Wow.
So Larry actually made a comment, George didn't want to have to paint now. So I haven't made it over there to see yet. Hopefully I can tomorrow, we'll see. But she's been a big help already, at least to get us through the summer. Then the water safety plan, I sent y'all a copy around there. It's not finalized yet, but it's kind of what I'm looking at putting in our handbook. And in July, when y'all approve the handbook, you'll be in there for that. But so you kind of see what we're thinking, looking on that. Then Faith reminded me that we probably need to get started here pretty soon on working on creating the flyers and information, gathering information we want to put for the bond election that's coming up in November. So did get all those paperwork turned in and filed at the courthouses. Thank goodness for the law conference, because one phone call told me that they weren't due until July 7th, and got to the law conference and Keely was there from RBC and she introduced us to the person from Cuddy that was organizing everything. And she says, yeah, don't forget you have until July 7th to do this. I had them all sitting on my desk ready to go. I was just waiting till we could go do it. So we got them all filed here in Socorro, both areas. So stand for any questions. So.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Marie, you have the floor.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
I'm in a place where you can't, AT&T isn't very good, so we're working through it. Hope you all are doing well. We're coming to the end of the fiscal year and things are fast and furious as you might expect. For the disbursement detail, listing, the checks, then your POs, which have kind of tapered off a little bit as you would expect towards the end of the year, but lots of bills getting paid.
Looks like we bought a bunch of stuff for next
Other
year,
institutions.
right? Bunch of quills. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Bunch of quill bills. Anyway, are there any questions about the disbursements?
No.
No.
No, we're good.
And like like I said, not very many POs going out, as you would expect at this time of year too. Just kind of wrapping up the end of the year. And then you can see the expenditure, the budget to the estimated, getting kind of close there on our, towards the end of the year, our budget and estimated would start to kind of meet up. And everything looks like it's on track. Nothing out of the ordinary, unless you all see something out of the ordinary.
Well, when you get to the cash balances, I had a question, but not with the charts.
And I have a question about that as well. I had a note last meeting that I was supposed to do a JMP for the parent fund, and I didn't get that done.
Oh,
So I just wanted to make sure that you all know I'll get that done before the rollover. I'll get with Jessica and figure out what I need to do with that.
Okay.
But above that, what was your question, John?
the line item 31,100 on operational account is negative.
Okay, I see that.
And 27,502 from operational is negative. I don't know. I couldn't find my cheat sheet on what the
Well,
numbers represent.
27,502, I think is it's a reimbursable account. 27,502 is a grant. So we're probably waiting on an RFR for that.
Waiting with the state.
Then your
Under
26,107 is the Ed Fellows. So we're probably waiting on a reimbursement from that as well.
I know we're waiting on it.
The 31,100,
31,100.
I'm not 100% sure on that, and I can't open my visions to really see what's going on there.
Okay.
But I will look into that and make sure that there may just need to be a bar or maybe a PO closed or something to make that okay.
Yeah, could you look at that and email that to me so I can get an answer to them on that, Marie?
Absolutely, I will. I'll have better internet on Thursday, so I'll look at that on Thursday for sure and get an answer for you on that.
Thank you.
Okay. And then and then that other one that I needed to move the money from. Okay.
Yep.
Is there any other questions other than that one, John? And I'll definitely have an answer for you by.
No, it was around 100,000, 98,000, so I was a little concerned if it was in the operational, why it would be a negative, that's all.
Well, 31,100 isn't necessarily operational, and I know that it's one of the, actually I can tell you exactly what fund that is. Just give me just a second. It's not a bond fund, but it's a SB. It's a SB or HB 33. I can't remember which one. I always get those
Yeah, it
confused.
would have to be SB9 because we don't have an HB 33.
Right.
Yes, I think the way it's labeled makes it seem, because it is labeled operational, but not an operational account.
Okay.
So, but hold on just a second, I'll get an answer for you on what that fund is exactly. Why? used to the internet working fast and it doesn't work fast. It's irritating.
That's okay. If you'll just send a clarifying email to Mr. Patterson, and then he can forward it on to us.
Yeah, that's 31,100 is actually Go Bond building, and there's plenty in there, so I'll have to look at it for sure. Yep.
Yeah, look at it and
Bond building,
that's fine.
100 bond building.
It shouldn't be negative.
No, it shouldn't be negative, so.
Okay.
So there's one that it says 3,100 and it says undefined, and then right under it, the same bond building.
Yeah, it's got to do with bonds, so we'll
What?
need to look at that and get an answer, so.
Yeah, yes, it is. So I will absolutely have an answer for you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Did you say 21? Did you ask for the
31.
20?
Well, yeah, there
21
were
is
3 of them that were.
both food services.
No, we're just, I guess the overall question would be, we're not at jeopardy of turning back any funds from any of the, or any money from any of the funds,
It
right?
shouldn't be, no.
Yeah.
No, even in your transportation, which is where they do want turnover funds, you have minimal of that. I'm not aware of anywhere that they would, other than idle monies, and you guys have been really good about spending that down, that they would want anything to be turned back to them.
Okay.
But you know what?
Even that carryover this year in our title money was minimal, it's like 25, 26,000. I mean, it's, and because of the cut we had, we need it for
This
the carryover, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, the title money is good, and so, yeah, I can't see anywhere where they would want anything back.
Okay. The expenditure and revenue reports look decent, so. Any questions for Ms. Marie?
Nope.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. You good? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Marie.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll have an answer for you on that. I may even have it before the end of the meeting, but I
Okay,
didn't want to hold you all up.
that's fine. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Sorry you had to zoom in.
Yes, thank
No,
you.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. Sorry I wasn't there in person.
That's okay. Everybody needs a break.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Approval of consent agenda items. All we have is bills paid since there's no bars.
I moved to pay our bills.
Second.
And then second pay our bills. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items, new graduation requirements.
So coming up, and then, well, in the July board meeting, there'll be some things for y'all to approve on graduation. There's a few things. When we get down a little bit further, first reading and some board policies that were recommended. But this is a very rough draft of the classes that we're needing to come up with for the incoming freshmen. Kathy's been working on putting it together in a more 4-year game plan setting. These are the classes that are required. We're going to, at the PAC meeting in July, present it to the parents and get some feedback from them. Some of the big things that still that really come in here that are probably the most important. Social studies this year, we now have to have 4. New Mexico history can stand alone, but it's only a half credit. There's not really marry up to it. They suggest that you merge it into the United States history. And so we had to come up with a fourth one. And doing our research and looking and knowing what our kids are missing just from a government standpoint, that's where we kind of came up with the principles of democracy. Got with Gid on that and teach that. And it really just starts teaching how democracy should work, the different houses. It's just another extension of government economics. From a math standpoint, we're looking at either just keeping it the way we have with Algebra 2 or going to an applied math for Algebra 2 because it counts as an Algebra 2 credit, but it's also not as Algebra 2. That's still an area that's kind of iffy because we don't really have a place to put another math class and to take its place. And what you don't want to do is limit a kid's ability to go to college because they didn't have Algebra 2. And still on the SAT that, or the ACT that our kids have to take, Algebra 2 is what they're tested on. So that one's still an area we're having some discussion on. We have to come up with 2 LEA choices. We did already present this to Pat, and Pat kind of jumped all over. We already require all of our students to take Intro to Science of Agriculture and Applied Agriculture, which is a 2-year program. That beats that. If the LEA wants to keep it as units, our parents are for that. Our kids are for it. It's something we're already doing. Electives, the hard part, and this is more with accreditation, is even though we don't have to offer 2 years of a foreign language anymore, or language other than English, not calling it foreign language anymore, language other than English, which could be sign language.
Right.
I mean, it
I
could
saw
be,
that, yeah.
there's a lot of options that are there. Because of lack of staffing, they'll teach it the way we would do it, it's ingenuity or through dual credit with the college. Same thing with computer sciences now, a class we don't have to require, but we have to offer. We can offer it through dual credit at EMU. Capstone project, I think I've got that. No, capstone project is another thing that we've got to come up with. And what it is we're included in our senior English class, resume writing, filling out job applications, mock interviews with community partners, bring some, maybe the mayor in here, maybe some of the city council, some different people. I'll probably could get somebody from the hospital to come in and do some mock interviews and give our kids that experience. That's actually something that they kind of threw us a curveball in the MAC code that we weren't expecting to have to do, but I don't think that's a bad thing to have to do. It's a good thing for our students to go through. The next page, this is a very rough draft portrait of Grizzly graduate. And I kind of stole this from a couple other districts. They stole my water safety plan and some of our stuff. And we're kind of going back and forth. So we need to wordsmith to make sure it really applies. But that's in a nutshell what a portrait of a graduate looks like. These are the things that are important for our kids to know and be able to do to graduate. What we liked about this one is it really ties into a lot of what we're already doing with our Capturing Kids' Hearts, with what we're trying to do, career readiness, and the types of things we were doing. So it kind of plays in there on that. And so these are kind of the directions we're going to. Again, we'll present with the next PAC meeting to get some more parent input on that and have it more finalized by the July board meeting.
And that has to be in place by August. That's start of
Yes, because
school.
this has to be in place in the handbook and you'll see there's some policies we'll talk about in a minute for the incoming freshmen, the current kids that will be freshmen. And so anybody from them on will follow this program. So for the next 4 years, we'll have 2 graduation plans in our handbook, which actually kind of worked on our handbook yesterday. I noticed we still have 2 graduation plans in our handbook anyway, because they still have the 2009, 2010 change. So that need to be deleted out of it. So it's either in our handbook or it's in one of our policies. It may be one of our policies, but either way, that's what those things are looking like. And Ms. Burrell and I, we had a lot of staff input on this too a few weeks ago, but Ms. Kathy Burrell has been really working on organizing and capturing it all. Because the next step plans all of it has to tie together, which a lot of work right now, but finally they're trying to tie everything together that will make a little bit more sense once it's in place. So.
Any questions on that from Mr. Patterson?
Nope.
No. Okay. Then we have a bazillion policies. First reading.
I'll put together some quick summaries if you want to kind of go over the summaries on them. There, a lot of them don't have big changes. The retiree return to work, the main thing that says is we have to have a policy that makes sure that we're notifying teachers that if they're coming out of retirement to go to work, it is their job to make sure they're meeting everything they're supposed to be doing with ERB. We still got paperwork that Jessica has to do, but if they don't do it right, don't follow rules, don't get their return to work letter, they jeopardize their retirement, and it's on them, not the district's responsibility to do that. That's the main thing that this new policy captures.
And that also counts for contracted employees, not just, so
Yeah, I saw that.
it's,
It counts for anything, yes.
that is
So,
new, right?
no,
That's
if
not-
you work for anybody that pays into ERB, so like Region 9 employees pay into ERB, so that even though they're contract employees, they follow that and have to follow that. The good news is the 3-year return to work that they allowed, it's now 5 years. So like our teacher that returned back, that we were have to worry about what to do in December. We've got 2 more Decembers to worry about. So if she stays with us at home, but you know, that's the good news from
The
that.
way I read it, a contract employee, like if you hired somebody that retired from an ERB system, correct, to do something at the school, just
Like a 1099,
One day,
like a 1099.
yeah,
Anything that we pay them for at the
they still
school,
have to go to ED and get the.
well, ERB, yeah, but yeah, they have to get a return to work. They have to get a return to work. You have to set out. You can't not make any money in 90 days. Still 90 days, I think. Any money in 90 days from a school. You can't drive a bus. You can't be a custodian. You can't. You can't volunteer coach for that 90 days. You can't even. That's not even taking money. If you volunteer coach, technically you're working for a district, and you haven't set out yet. And the key for the return to work is you have to sit out. My mom was a prime example. For 20 years, she substituted, never would sit out. I told her, I said, if you could just sit out 1 year, you could have been drawing full retirement and
Right.
full income. And she didn't, COVID's what finally made her do that. COVID's what made her sit out that year that all that hit. So,
Okay.
But any questions on the retiree return to work?
No.
School graduation, or this policy number 261, school schedules and caseloads. The main thing on this one that impacts us is the change is the requirement that the next step plans, which we already do, align with the district's graduation profile. So those are some work that we still need to do between now and the July board meeting. But that's really what this policy is saying, that they will be in alignment, and they should. It makes sense. So graduation requirements deals with the 2 local units that we just talked about, which we're doing with the 2 ag classes. Also outlines the new graduation requirements, which was 2 things. Outlines those things and captures those, which it's supposed to be more in line for LEA control, and then they give us all these guidelines that
Right.
really limits our control. But I don't know that they're not necessarily a bad direction on this one. Policy 263 is graduation exercises. It doesn't really pertain to us because we're kind of graduation exercises. It doesn't really pertain to us because we're kind of pretty free with our students anyway, but it really is aimed at students who are part of a registered American tribe, and being able to wear their regalia that's important to their ceremonies in the graduation.
It also
I'm
says-
surprised they have to put it in a policy. We
I'm
we
very
did that
sad
here
about
years.
that, yes.
Yeah.
But it also said something about students who wish to participate must be present at the rehearsals. Failure to do so except for legitimate reasons for absence may cause for excluding students to participate in the exercises.
That's been in our policy for,
Okay,
that's not new to our policy.
okay.
That's always
And
been
then
in there.
also the other bullet,
So,
students may not participate in the commencement exercise unless they have successfully completed, okay.
Right.
Okay,
Those are all,
And then
those
the
both have
tribal-
been there because that actually has come up in districts I've been at, is they needed to finish a test, but they wanted to graduate. Well, the test is a 0 till you do that.
Right.
Legally, we can't graduate you in that aspect, because when we graduate, we're conferring that they have met the requirements, not that they're going to meet. So,
and then the tribal stuff, okay.
student Student discipline, 264 has a couple things in there. One goes back to the travel regalia that no student who is enrolled or eligible talks about that. I won't spend a whole time like that. So the second one has been kind of in our policy anyway, but they've gotten very aggressive with House Bill 43, the Black Education Act, on the wording that has to be in there. And this policy puts that wording in there, which is the racialized aggression defined as any aggression. So it defines that puts it in policy in that aspect. Some of the ones that are some changes, but we already kind of do policy 265, EBC emergencies. Emergency is revised solely to add cardiac emergency response plan. We don't have that, but my plan is when a nurse comes back in August for her to write what that plan would be. And it's just, now our teachers do the online AED training. We have AEDs in our building, which we're going to come across here in a minute. It's a new policy. We've been doing that. We just need to capture the policy. We have the AED machines. I send it out as part of our vector solutions that we use for trainings. And we even have the nurse do some even more intense training with some people because of a student that might need it. We already kind of do those. It's just capturing the policy. 266 is instructional goals, objectives, are revised to do the science of reading and structured literacy to ensure compliance with House bills that are in place. Our teachers have been going through structured literacy, been going through the letters program. We've been doing that and getting that in place anyway. I think it's now grown up through 8th grade. So we've got a couple of teachers that I think will have to start their expedition down, meeting those trainings and going through the letters trainings. But that one has created a little bit of conversation amongst superintendents, because what they're trying to do is make that a requirement also for people to get their licenses, which were really limited. Some teachers coming from other states that don't do the science of reading, they don't buy into those concepts. Policy 267 is a new one. This is the cell phone policy. As I heard somebody say earlier, we're kind of ahead of the game on that anyway. The problem is there's two policies. So between now and the next one, really look at the two policies. The main difference between the two is one, the board's dictating it a little bit more. They're making it more, it's this, which means if there's ever any change in the handbook on the cell phone policy, it's got to come back to board and board policy approval. That's the negative of that. At first, I was like, no, I want the board to do that, because the state's saying it, the board's saying it, the admin saying, everybody's saying it. The problem is if there's ever anything we need to tweak or change, it comes back to policy, whereas the policy can just leave it up to administration to make sure we have it covered in the handbook and meet the letter of the law, which we ironically already did this last year and had a very successful year. Not a perfect year, but a very, I would say, successful year with our phone issues this year. So, policy 268 is the cardiac emergency plan. I already said what our plan is on that, is to get with the nurse when she comes back in August, get that developed. Like I
That one
said,
doesn't
right
have
now,
to be in place prior to school starting?
it's not going to be.
Okay.
No, I mean, even if we had to, she's off contract and works for Region 9, and so I could make it up, but it would make more sense to have our nurse do it, and that's a curveball that they threw. Nobody saw this one coming, and sorry, you get it in June, you're not going to have it. Well, the good news is, the reason why I'm not too worried about it is we already have staff trained with AEDs. We already have AEDs in every building. We now have one. We added one to this building this spring, and staff's trained to do that. And if you ever open up if you've ever been to the training, they really are self-explanatory. Even it's just having somebody brave enough to know, oh, I need to grab that and do it. Because once you look it up, it pretty much walks you through everything else. So, and then I shared kind of a draft during my board report of what I'm looking at towards the water safety plan. So.
And then the emergency one, about disasters, the chemical bomb threats, building collapse.
That's all been in our policy
Okay.
anyway, and it's part of our safety
Hostage,
plan.
arson, civil explosions, vehicular accidents. Not for sure.
It's all it's that, those are there. The real change is the cardiac emergency response.
Any questions on the policy?
I don't.
Let's move on to action items. Discussion and approval of It's Allen's bus contract for next year. So, it's same as this year for the most part.
It's on page, I'm trying to get to it, page 94.
Oh,
Yeah, it's, with the session start date and finish date because of the school calendar, it's pretty much the same contract we had last year.
Bless you.
Bless you.
thank you.
Any questions on the contract?
I don't. I've looked it over and
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Get Allen's bus contract.
second.
And then second is approved, Get Allen's bus contract for 25-26 school year. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. For consideration and approval of the quote from Beasley Mitchell and Company for this year's audit.
And it's a quote, it's a contract that I'll have to sign, but we're having difficult getting the contract from Ed, to sign it. That's why I listed either or. I was hoping to have the contract by now, but it's a contract I'll sign. But that's the quote that captures everything in it, and we typically have to sign it every year. It's good for 1 year. So there are, we've got, I think, 3 more years with them, but we still approve the contract yearly.
Oh. Okay, I move to, approval of the contract with Beasley Mitchell and Company.
Second.
And moving second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item C, discussion approval of the Open Meetings Act, which we have to do every year.
I move to approve the board,
Oh,
Carrizozo School Board open meeting at resolution here for 25.
second.
Moved and seconded, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
I have heat stroke.
Motion carries. Okay, discussion and possible approval of the purchase of the science adoption for HMH, that's Hilton, Milford, and whatever.
Their quote even just says HMH on it.
Right.
So
10-7. And the teachers are good with it, everything's
And it is on the
on the
HQI.
highly qualified instructional materials.
From the state, yeah.
So moved.
A second.
Then moving second to approve the HMH purchase of science curriculum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Now the elementary science. Is
And
it
they-
highly qualified also? Okay.
And they went with Twig because the HMH doesn't go down to the elementary levels. So that was the other one that was
Does Twig go up?
K through 8. And they had enough science materials from the old adoption to still use for the middle school. That's why middle school didn't adopt any books. They'll make it work with the materials.
we're still hoping to try to figure out how to find some physics in the box to help do some of this. So I have a plan, but I'm waiting until July budget now. So
That'll be for high school,
actually, that's 3 through 12.
Yes.
3 through 12.
Yeah, it's got programs 3 through 12. So it's not a full science program, but it's once a week, twice a week type things that
To integrate.
And there are school districts that are doing it, they show that it's had as big an impact on their math scores as it has their science scores. It's not HQI. Part of the reason why I kind of waited till July is there's a lot of discussion about the Fed making it part of HQI for math. So,
So moved.
Second.
The move second to approve the elementary science books. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to executive session, we need a roll call vote and a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive section.
Second.
Been moved in second to go into executive session. Wow. Mr. Barilla.
Aye. Yay. Aye.
Mark.
Yeah.
And I, executive session at 7:00 on the dot. Thank you, Marie. Enjoy your vacay.
All right, thank you.
thank you.